This is Michael Lavers with the Washington Blade. I am reporting from Valparaíso, Chile. It's a little bit before 3:30 local time on Tuesday, October 3rd, and it is my last full day here in Chile as well as in Latin America. If all goes according to plan, I will be flying from Santiago to Miami tomorrow night, and will return to DC about 9:30 Thursday morning. And so you're looking at the Pacific Ocean behind me. I'm standing in a neighborhood called Cerro Alegre, which overlooks the port. You see Viña del Mar, which is a resort in the background, and obviously there's a port just beneath me by about 500 feet or so, but I'm pretty high in elevation, as you can tell. So at any rate, I'm here in Valparaíso today to interview a local activist. He's with Fundación Iguales, which is a Chilean LGBT advocacy group. I came here to get some stock photos of the Chilean Congress, which is actually here in Valparaíso. It's not in Santiago. And yeah, it's about 90 minutes from Santiago. I left about 11 o'clock this morning and got here just before 12:45 or so. It was a pretty easy trip. The weather's nice today, and there was no traffic, thankfully. So the last part of the trip in Latin America here in Chile, I've been interviewing several LGBT rights advocates. I sat down yesterday with Rolando Jimenez. He's the president of, hopefully I get this right, the Movement for Homosexual Integration and Liberation. It's the oldest, one of the oldest LGBT advocacy groups here in Chile. I sat down with him at his office yesterday in Santiago, and so had a pretty long conversation about what's going on here in terms of the presidential election, the same-sex marriage push, and a number of other issues. So look for that interview at some point down the road. And on Sunday, I sat down with Luis Lorrain. He's a gay rights advocate. He used to be the executive director of Fundación Iguales, and he's one of the two gay candidates running for the Chilean Congress. The elections are next month. And so sat down with him and talked with him about his campaign. There's another candidate, Oscar Rementeria. He's actually running to represent parts of Valparaíso, and we're hopefully going to sit down in Santiago at some point. So tomorrow, hopefully. So that's what I've been up to here in Chile. I've also connected with our correspondent here, Nicolas Levy, and he's been doing some wonderful work here in Chile for us in terms of reporting and just basically keeping me quite well informed about what's going on and the news of the day. So, and with that said, yesterday certainly was a pretty difficult day for all Americans, myself included, with the events that transpired in Las Vegas, and trying to process them, if that's indeed at all possible, as I was trying to, carry on and get my work done, which included a visit to the tomb of Daniel Zamudio, who was the young gay Chilean man who was brutally murdered back in 2012. His murder sparked outrage across the country, and then President Sebastián Piñera signed a law that banned discrimination and hate crimes against LGBT Chileans. And it's pretty interesting to note that he is conservative, and he's actually running for president again. With the election being on the 19th of November. So at any rate, it was pretty difficult yesterday reading the news coming out of Las Vegas with yet another mass shooting in the US. The previous mass shooting that was the deadliest in modern US history was the Pulse nightclub massacre in Orlando back in June of 2016. I was on the ground there for 5 days covering it, and will absolutely never forget that experience. It was horrible, to put it mildly, and never thought that, perhaps naively never thought that I would be talking about yet another mass shooting in the US that would be even more deadly than what happened in Orlando, but here we are. So had a few conversations with average Chileans yesterday, including the person who sold me a couple of books in Plaza de Armas in Santiago, and the Uber driver who took me to the airport to pick up my rental car, about what happened in Las Vegas, and they asked me why this continues to happen in the US, and my only response was what I thought was appropriate, was that there's too many guns and not enough political will to do anything to stop the situation. So the Chileans are definitely standing with the US, folks in the US, as the news out of Las Vegas continues to grow more tragic and more heartbreaking, and also just really don't understand why these things continue to happen in the US in terms of mass shootings and the violence that we have. So that was it was a pretty sobering, pretty sad day, obviously, and being several thousand miles from home in the US, not being directly, attached to the directly watching the newscasts or anything, made it a little bit distant, but certainly I knew what was going on, and yeah, it was a sobering day, certainly. And I thought back to 2011 when I was here in Chile for the first time. It was actually during the time when, on the same day that, or no, we were here on the day that then Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords was shot in Tucson, Arizona, and the reaction was shock and disbelief, and had many of those same feelings yesterday as I was digesting the news coming out of Las Vegas and wondering how the hell could this happen yet again. So, but here we are. So at any rate, and my battery's getting low. At any rate, that's the latest from here in Valparaíso, Chile, and as always, thank you so much for continuing to follow my reporting and my social media posts, and it's been a good trip. I must say I'm ready to go home. I have a pretty awful cold today. The allergies here the spring allergies are killing me, and it's not pleasant. And yeah, I'm just living out of suitcases for 2 weeks is enough to make anybody tired, and looking forward to the comforts of home. So that's the latest from here in Valparaíso, and I will probably check in next time when I'm back in the United States. Hasta luego.